I'm speaking from my personal experience. I was on the school board in Blanford, and I had zero control. I was given extremely limited information just to say yes or no, and eventually I had to resign. What the system currently has is false, absolutely false. It's not genuine ever from the school or from the school district. Give any meaningful information so that you can vote on what you consider, or even to oversight. That's absolutely wrong. That's why I want to answer. Based on the two current board members just said that the way they want to engage the community, I would not have really come into this campaign at all. I would be a very quiet, happy parent at home. It's just everything they said, it's just the opposite. Based on my personal opinions, it's hostile, anti-parents, anti-students, and anti-community. That's why I want to abolish, destroy this whole bureaucracy, make it absolutely transparent. Everyone feels he's a public servant to the community. We are welcome in the school district when you walk into it. When you get information, it's there. Every public record should be available, accessible, without any hassle. Right now, I'm a candidate. Since September 19, I have not received a single document what I have requested pursuant to the California Public Records Act. And that's the bureaucracy we have. I need your support to abolish this one so I can overhaul, make it transparent, that belongs to the community and not belongs to a private club controlled by a few.
First, I need to review the formula of the allocation of the fund to the schools. The current formula has a problem, and some school has not enough fund to fund their supply, and we realize that that's a problem. And for my next term, I will recall the formula. And by recalling the formula, we need to re-examine the usage of the fund. We'll review it, and what I'll do is I will visit schools and speak with the teachers, principals, and the parents, and know how they use those school supply funds. And based on those information, we will recall the formula. So some schools, they have reasonably used more and need more, then we will fund more. And we will fund them reasonably and sufficiently for every school. It's very important, and we can't have the school a lack of supplies, and as we keep getting complaint from the teachers union that says the teacher steal their home supply and supply to school, so it's not right. So I realize that there's absolutely no. So the school funding for each school site can be reevaluated. And secondly, we need to stop wasting. Teachers, principals, we need to do better and stop wasting. And as long as we don't waste it and we fund them, then we will have a good way to supply students.
As some of the other candidates have said, those of us who are new have things to learn. We need to get in the middle and see how they're figuring out what each school is getting for funds. Obviously, in November, this amount is going to be already set. But it's up to the board to periodically check with their school site, the principal, whoever's the leader at each site, to make sure they have adequate funds to take care of the needs of our students. The number one reason we're all here is for the students. And if something as simple as crayons and paint for kindergarten isn't available, that's a problem. So that's pretty simple. That said, there has to be an open door that the campuses feel comfortable with telling administration when there are problems. I'm hearing from a lot of campuses that they're afraid to complain because then they'll become down on them. And I don't like to hear that. I have not seen it for myself. I will look to see if that's true, but I want to make sure that every single campus is taken care of. As said, the budget is there for the students. We need to evaluate for the, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back and say that. What I have seen is a tendency for centralization for the district rather than letting the schools not completely run themselves, but decide what they need and what their priorities are. Each principal should know what her school needs. She's got a team working with her. And if there are budget problems, I would expect as somebody on the board that that person would come to the superintendent, to the school board meetings or something to let us know. They have been telling us that the last several school board meetings I've gone to, that the supplies is a problem. And I was glad to hear at the last meeting that one of the board members did say, we've got to do something about this because enough people are complaining. Thank you.
Well, as I said earlier, I have 4 children, 4 different teachers, 4 different curriculums. And unfortunately, which most of the parents at Oswald Academy who have the means, and it is a more affluent area, the donations run steadily into Oswald. But weekly, we get emails from teachers that are asking for ink, paper, educational materials that are necessary, that should already be funded by taxpayers' dollars. That concerns me as a parent. I've had parents tell me, unfortunately, and this was one of the more shocking stories, that their son had to sit on the toilet seat for quite a while before some toilet paper was brought to him in the restroom. If that's where we're at these days in this modern era, as a parent, I have a major concern with that. Our teachers are paying out of their pockets for necessities that should already be in the classrooms. Pencils, paper, ink, hand sanitizer. Where is that money? Where is that money? The teachers need our support. The parents who live in industry in La Puente, who are not as affluent as in West Covina or in Rowland, they cannot provide those materials. If we're sitting on a substantial amount of reserve money, as a parent, I would like to see that money be spent wisely, efficiently, in the classroom, for our teachers and for our students. So as a board member, yes, it is essential that the board member is up to date on how funding is being spent at the local sites. The principals and the teachers know exactly what those classrooms and those students need. But we need to make sure that, again, this is done with all due respect to our community, and spend our money wisely, get it in the classroom, and make sure that those children have the proper materials to learn. Thank you.
Well, as you may or may not know, being a board member is a full-time job, which is really not a full-time job. The reality is that we are elected by the community. We serve the community and the school district, but it's really a part-time job because all of us have our own things that we do. So some of us are retired, some of us work our own business, some work as an employee. So to actually be on top of a school side budget is a difficult thing, but it's not. I don't think it's one that you would want a board member to be telling schools what to do with the money. The one thing that you want to make sure that happens is that you want the money allocated fairly, that is, on the basis of ADA. So you have X number of students, and the state gives us X number of dollars, so that those dollars should be allocated fairly to each one of the schools based on their population. We certainly want to make sure that they have materials. We've heard that at the board level. I happen to be that board member who asked that question. So ultimately, what you want from a board member is a board member who is willing to ask questions, because we're not there during the day. So that we hear from staff that this or that happens. We hear from those that come to a board meeting and say this or that happens. So it's our job to get at what is the reality. This district has traditionally been not a centralized district in the sense that everything that we do is centralized, but we have been very much letting the schools control what they do with their budgets. So when there are complaints that money is not there for paper or other things, obviously the question has to be asked, and what's happening at that school district. So I agree with Lynn, you have to have the schools say what they need. And once you hear that, then you have to react.
I think as a board member, one of job duty is to set a policy, to set the mission and the vision for the board, the school district. So budget is important. Budgeting is even more important, and how to allocate our budget to the right way, to the good way to use it. I think that's what we need to actually find out. We need to hear the voices from our children, which is our students, of course, our teachers, our staff, along with our parents. It's not just, I'm sorry about this one, 5 people sitting on the top will know if they don't go down there and just guess during a meeting. This won't work. As that was mentioned earlier, that we had the YMCA meeting last week, and they really want to do something covered with our school district by doing, like, say, for example, bringing the music class, the arts class, the dance class, sports class, swimming class. This is just one of example. So if we can have actually do this type of stuff with the community, we'll save some money too, right? Thank you.
I just want to make sure I answer this correctly. It is not the board's job to oversee the school site budget. It is up to the administrators at that school site to oversee their budget. The only job of the board is to make sure that the money is being spent on instruction, meaning it's spent on the kids. But it's not our job to dictate where that money goes. Part of the problem with having someone who's never been an educator dictating how money is spent is that they don't understand what it's like to be in a classroom and what you need for your students. That's why the funding has to be given to the schools. Then the schools will address, this is what we need based on our student population, based on our community, and based on how our teachers deliver the instruction. And then they spend that money appropriately. I have to say, I was a little bit disheartened to hear a board member state that they have to review the formula to see if the money is, proper amount of money is being delivered to the school sites, because our teachers union has been at the last 3 board meetings saying, we need supplies, we need supplies, we need supplies, and going as far as to give the board a wordle to make sure that they got their point across that they need supplies. So that's a little bit disheartening for me as a parent. The other thing is, teachers don't waste supplies. As a teacher, I can tell you, everything that I have in my classroom is used. So the supplies that we get, we use them to the fullest. And then one of the other things that I want to mention is local control funding. And I support local control funding because one of the things that it will do is it will give more money to low-income schools, schools that are in low-income areas, and schools that have English language learners. So as Mr. Estrada was talking about some of the schools in the La Fuente side that don't have the money to donate, local control funding gives extra money to make sure those kids have what they need. So bottom line is, the money goes to school, the schools decide how they're going to spend it, and then if the board gives them the proper amount, we won't have an issue.